All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Again, to restate, there'll be a cleanup this weekend, 8 o'clock to 11 on Saturday on South F Street, and that was just spoken to. Also on Sunday, is it this Sunday, the Tropical Triathlon?
Yes.
That's this Sunday, that's right. And I think they're still looking for volunteers, so if you want to get up really, really early on Sunday morning and help a bunch of people run and swim and bike through the town, this would be a great time to step up. Just get in touch with me, or if you know Nadine Burns, please reach out to her. She can certainly could use the help as far as volunteers are concerned. Also, I had the good fortune of coordinating a meeting with some of the religious leaders in the Osborne community, the Black community, if you will. I think Captain Thayer spoke to that very briefly, and we were able to have the city manager there, the mayor was there, and I think Commissioner McVoy showed up, and it was a very good conversation. There were probably 4 or 5 pastors and 4 or 5 folks from the community. And I think Captain Thayer did speak to this. I think one of the things that came out of that conversation was that we need to get folks more willing to step up and be cooperative with the sheriff's office when things happen. There seems to be this thing, well, I didn't see anything, because maybe folks are afraid to speak out. So I think that was a really, really good meeting, and I think that there's going to be some really good achievements and suggestions that come out of that ongoing dialogue. And finally, I'd like to, I'm sorry I didn't bring this up the last meeting we had, but we've had some folks come in the last couple of meetings that wanted to speak to the issue of homelessness here in the city. And I was wondering if it might not be appropriate for us to have some sort of a town hall or workshop and kind of see if we can assemble the services and whatnot that's available to the homeless community and kind of bring that all together and just see what is out there, because I think there seems to be a perception in some areas that there are no programs, there's no programming, there's nothing out there for the homeless, and that somehow we are being insensitive to the homeless. So if we could somehow have a meeting and kind of bring all that together, invite all interested parties to come together and have a discussion about the issue, if that's the will of the commission. You guys want to do that?
Let's do it.
Okay.
It's getting to be an on.
Yeah, sure.
It's getting to be
Sure.
a problem.
Sorry to jump in. I have been exploring this issue actually. I was going to speak to it, so if you don't mind. I've been in contact with the Homeless Coalition of Palm Beach County. Some of you know that I was in their employ before I started here. This is a very difficult issue for municipalities. I can sympathize with business owners that want to feel safe and comfortable, and with patrons of those businesses who want to feel safe and comfortable. At the same time, that doesn't supersede a person's basic right to exist in public spaces and to speak out loud. So it's a challenging issue to address for cities. Fortunately, and it's not just here in Florida, but it's nationwide, that those services have been taken from the way that it worked several years ago is and we still do have a system called 211, everyone knows what 911 is, 211, where essentially an individual in need of service would call 211 and they would get an operator that would give them a number of phone numbers that they could call, and then they would start calling those numbers, and generally the response that they will get is, sorry, we're out of services, we're out of food, we're out of beds. What has happened, not only in Palm Beach County, but again nationwide, is that those services have been put into one central access center. For us in Palm Beach County, it is the Philip Lewis Center on 45th Street. Now an individual who enters the center can give their name, their specific information, and then the operator can just look into a computer system and instantly see the services that are available for those individuals. The second part of that process, I believe, is municipalities partnering with these agencies. the issue is bigger than us here in Lake Worth, and it's being addressed on a bigger level. I would like to see the commission, I would like to see the city partner with the Homeless Coalition. They put on an event, it's 4 times a year, called Project Homeless Connect. The ultimate purpose of the event is to provide the space where an individual could choose to end their homelessness. If even one person does that at the event, I think that progress has been made. It's more progress than is made otherwise. I know that they are looking for a new host city for this event. I would propose that we find the space here in Lake Worth to provide that event. Show that we are compassionate about the issue, that we are trying to do the best that is currently available, though it may not be a perfect solution, and then we can open a dialogue, we can start to work from there. So I've been in contact with the program coordinator from the Homeless Coalition, and they would very much like to have their next project, Homeless Connect, here in Lake Worth.
Excellent. Excellent. Were you finished?
I am now.
Okay.
I am now, thank you.
Commissioner McWay?
I just would register my support for that. I mean, that sounds like a pretty sensible idea for us to partner with the Homeless Coalition. They certainly have more knowledge and expertise than we do. And I agree with the comments that this is challenging. It's trying to find a balance between differing needs, and doing that in a compassionate and positive way takes some doing. If we do some sort of a community event of our own to get some dialogue going, and we're serious about reaching out to the homeless community, I would suggest that we maybe be thoughtful about where we put the location of that dialogue. That doing it in City Hall might not be the best place. We may want to reach out somewhere, and there may be people in the community. Mr. Meyer would be certainly one of them from his experiences, might be able to suggest how and why. I'll keep mine very short. My only other one is I continue to be involved in the Good Government Initiative. We met on all day Saturday, and I continue to learn from that, because we meet with elected officials from a range of different cities. So I'm always picking up ideas from what other cities are doing, so I find it quite helpful.
Okay, excellent. Commissioner Marshall?
I was going to talk about other events and stuff, but I'll just move on to the homeless. Since I became unelected, there's been a lot of issues, and I've been trying to put it all together in a nice, pretty package. And like you said, Commissioner, there's a lot of working pieces. If you've talked to the Homeless Coalition, then you know that they're on our streets on a regular basis. Last month, we took off, we had 2 people actually got off the street and became, actually got somewhere to live. We took 1 person to rehab, a real rehab that actually helps people. The Lewis Center, we take people there daily for help, the people that actually want to get there. And it's a struggle for me because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people on the streets that are there for multiple reasons. And if you truly need help or want help, there is help there. We're also, the city manager and I have been meeting with 211. 211 is going to come in, we're going to host them. And I disagree, I've actually visited 211, I've visited some of their programs. It exists, it's there, and people are getting help from 211. We just need to make sure that people know how to get there. So I think there's a lot of working pieces. And again, I encourage anyone that wants to help the homeless, instead of complaining about it, come up with a solution. Help the people. Actually get them off the street. I've met with several people last week that work with the homeless on the street, and they said, our main mission is to get them off the street. It's not to enable them, it's to get them off the street. We have the Lord's Place and Goodwill Industries just built brand new facilities here in Lake Worth. My direction to them was talk to them and help these people get off the street. The last thing we need to do is build brand new facilities to get people off the streets and have them bringing it in from another city. You know, at the end of the day, we need to help everyone that needs help and wants help, but we need to get our people off the street first. And if we've got a brand new Lord's Place going in on South Federal, we've got a brand new Goodwill on South J, there's gonna be places for these people to live. So we need to reach out and we need to make sure that instead of complaining about it, instead of spinning the wheels, that we physically take them by the hand, we identify them, and we get them off the street.
I think too that, I mean, there's so many different issues that are facing it, and I thank my fellow commissioners for bringing this up. We don't do a good job as a country taking care of our own people,
Amen.
all right? We don't. We have, the issue of dementia especially is huge. Our hospitals, whether you have Alzheimer's or any other form of dementia, the hospitals can't keep you there. They can't take care of you. And many of the people out on the streets, you know, whether it's dementia, some form of dementia, Alzheimer's, other types of emotional issues, bipolar, schizophrenia, there's a number of issues, as well as drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and many other situations. Organizations, meanwhile, they don't always have the room, they don't always have the staff, and there are good apples and bad apples. I just heard a story right before the meeting from someone who was saying that they reached out to an organization and they didn't like that person and they weren't able to stay. And these types of things exist everywhere. But I can assure you that, number one, we were probably the first city to sign on an ordinance with the police office, with the sheriff's office, to transport anybody that wants to go to 45th Street for free. On everybody, you know, no costs involved, no questions, no nothing. The issue is, though, you know, we've got a lot of issues. One of the biggest issues is you can't drink and you can't drug in a facility. So a lot of people, that's the problem. They don't want to go there because they have an addiction, they have a disease. So this is such a big issue, I'm very emotional about it, but I will tell you this, that we do have to do something about it. We're not insensitive to things I mentioned last time, and I will state again for the record that this commission never, did not ever create any policy to remove anything from the park or to do anything. And I just want to make that very, very clear.
Who did? Who authorized the decision?
Commission City Manager, you addressed this in the last meeting,
Not really.
but I'll have him do it again. I think you might have left at that point.
As I said in the last meeting, I've said to y'all individually, the water fountain that was behind the pavilion was taken off by staff, it was damaged. There were 3 water fountains in the park total, the middle fountain is still there. It's by the equipment, the exercise equipment. It's a vandal-proof design, they're very expensive, they're about $3,000 or $4,000 a piece. The fountain, because of the complaints we've gotten, we put it back up. But our hope is to actually purchase these vandal-proof fountains so they don't get damaged. The one behind the pavilion on the south end, the same thing. We had been approached by actually some kids here a few months ago wanting to partner, and we were working with one of the, Commissioner Maxwell had talked to one of the neighborhood associations about donating some money to that. So it's kind of like people read into conspiracies when something happens. We get damage, we get vandalism, we deal as staff with the impacts of those kinds of activities in the park systems. We get yelled at by the residents and people going to the park because things are damaged or broken or vandalized. We're responsible for trying to figure out how to keep things clean and safe. That's what happened with the water fountain. There's benches all over the parks. If you go to Bryant Park, and I've been through there, as I've told y'all as well, I've been actually going there and having lunches with homeless people outside of the spotlight, just to talk to them directly to find out what their concerns and issues were. And there's plenty of places to sit. There's not a problem with benches in Bryant Park. So we'll have all the water fountains back in place. The one that was most obvious was the one behind the pavilion. Pavilion was damaged. It's back up, it's been back up for over a week now. It's not our intent, and you've never instructed us, clearly, repeat that, you've never instructed us to do any activities like that, to remove anything that isn't, if there's something damaged or something vandalized or ruined. Some of our equipment's old. Some of our things are over 10, 15 years old. They rust, they fall apart. But there's plenty of places and benches and things throughout the city to sit. So I can't say that you can see a pattern of any kind of behavior.
I just want to make and state again for the record too that this, I wouldn't want this to ever happen again, first of all. it's very difficult for us, and I know we've talked about having, a public information officer and all these other questions. But Mike, you don't like this very much, but I say, when anything good happens, it's, you did it. When anything bad happens, we did it. We don't even know about it. We don't know that the fountain came out of the, I'm sorry to say, that's what we were elected for, so, we asked for it. But it's just, when you don't know about something, I'm tired of being reactive to situations that I had absolutely no control over. And it gives us a black eye, and it's not the way we are as a city or as a people, and I just don't want it to happen again.
Well, I appreciate that, but I just want to reiterate, we have a small staff that's responsible for a lot of acreage. And you would be horrified at the conditions and the vandalism and the destruction that we deal with in public places all over. I don't tell you about all the times we fix things.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that I know I received emails in regards to this and addressed it. I'm sure if I received them, you all received, other commissioners, I'm sure you got information from other commissioners during the course of this, or did anyone ever share correspondence over this that you received? The city
No.
manager?
Share it with the city.
With
Can
the
I
city
ask
manager?
one-
Ask the
Right.
city-
Yeah,
ask the city
can I ask just
manager.
one question?
Yeah, that's what me too.
And I responded to that email. And there was a conspiracy behind it, and so you can't deal with it.
I know, it's just again, it's just we're always,
I understand.
yeah, okay. All right, in addition to, I have the MPO meeting this week, we're on public commission liaison reports. And it was an excellent meeting, Vice Mayor, Commissioner McBoy, thank you for coming to that meeting too, with Pastor Kita. And there's a lot of good information came out of that too. And I had one other thing, but I forgot. All right, moving on, public participation of non-agenda items and consent agenda items. Yes,
Can I add something on the homeless issue?
yes.
As you all know, I'm involved in the Homeless Coalition, and Commissioner Meyer and I actually worked with the project Connect Together more than once. And just so you're aware a little bit of what it is, the last few have been held, for example, one was at the Salvation Army in Palm Springs, one was at a church in Riviera Beach, so they rotate around the county. The next one is November in Pahokee. They can probably have one here January, February, somewhere in Lake Worth. So just to give you a timeline, because it takes them a while to organize it, and they'll have several dozen providers there, from the Department of Health to other organizations that will, offer clothes, food, shelter, access to care, and they'll also generally draw somewhere between 150 and 300, would you say, individuals who are homeless, and families and children and babies that are homeless. So it's a great event, and again, I'm sure we'll be working together to make a success sometime January, February in Lake Worth.
Thank you, we're moving on to the blue comment cards, to see some new faces.